Hi, and welcome to another edition of MikeNet PC. I'm Mike Walton, founder of MikeNetPC.com, and today we're going to be talking about virtualization. It's kind of the new craze with a lot of people and setting up virtual environments, saving resources, saving energy. Everyone's kind of green conscious these days. So, virtualization, server virtualization, as kind of defined by Wikipedia, is a virtual private server, VPS, also referred to as a virtual dedicated server, or VDS, is a method of partitioning a physical server computer into multiple servers such that each has the apparent capabilities of running on its own dedicated machine. Each virtual server can run its own full-fledged operating system, and each server can be independently rebooted. Now, basically what that's telling us here is that basically we have one physical server and we're able to run multiple virtual servers within that, all independent of each other, all able to be rebooted independently of each other. So if you notice, it kind of saves resources. It's going to cost a lot less for you to deploy one server versus 5 physical servers. And a lot of the stuff can actually be done free with, or at a very low cost with some free open source tools for different functions depending on what you need. So basically we're going to just talk about the free tools here real quick. A couple of the free tools that you can get to do some virtualization is Microsoft Virtual PC, VMware Server, Citrix XZen Server Express, or Zen Server Express, Microsoft Virtual Server 2005. These are all softwares you can go online, download, and you can use them for free. They're limited, obviously. They want you to buy their software, but you can use these for free to set up a quick little virtual environment in your own network. Some things you want to consider when you're setting up a virtual environment is you need to do your research beforehand. A lot of people these days now are more going to a virtual environment versus starting out in a virtual environment. They're taking and they're consolidating 5 servers into one. So if that's the case with you, you need to make sure you do your research beforehand. You need to do baseline readings of your servers, especially the ones you want to consolidate together, and find out how much memory each one's using, how much processing power each one is using, and combine those and see what, on an average, your virtual server running all 5 of these servers are going to produce. You don't want to put a server that's 10-15% of the time running at 35% CPU utilization and using half of your RAM, and then throw a few other servers on there that are doing similar things. You're not going to have the kind of resources you need to be able to run those servers, and you just won't have a good experience with virtualization. So do your research beforehand. Find out which servers would be best to kind of group together based on their processing ability, the amount of RAM you're going to need for each one. Your server's going to have to be robust. They're going to have to be more robust than the servers you buy for single-use applications, obviously. So what you want to do, I mean, you can even mathematically figure this out nice and easy. Say you have 3 servers, and if you deployed each one of those as an individual server, you're going to be spending, let's say $5,000 per server. So you're spending $15,000 to deploy 3 servers, 3 different applications, say. So now you want to do a virtual environment. Let's say you buy a more robust server that's $8,000. Well, with that one $8,000 server, you can host all 3 computers. So you have a savings of $7,000 there that most of the higher ups will look at, and they'll kind of agree with you on it that, yeah, we want to save that kind of money. So it does become an much more economical option. And it also saves, which is really huge, server rack space. If you consolidate enough of your servers, you don't have to buy that extra rack. Granted, racks aren't that expensive, but you don't have to buy that extra rack because you've consolidated your stuff down. You're going to use less electronic consumption. Your AC and heating in your data center is not going to need to be as robust and as big because you're physically using less servers, so you're going to be producing less heat. It's just kind of common sense here. Preferably, when you buy these servers, kind of that extra money you're putting into, you want to buy something that's 64-bit architecture, kind of 64-bit hardware, and preferably an underlying 64-bit operating system as well. Um, just again for robustness, because you're going to be having multiple servers running on this. So you just want it kind of as robust as you can get it so that you don't see a performance degradation when you consolidate your servers. So some of the easy things that are due, and you can actually do these for pretty much free, virtual applications that you can run are going to be DHCP servers, DNS servers, file servers, print servers. Those are really that's a really good example. I mean, you can literally have one virtual server running one physical server running four virtual servers, each one running one of those, non-dependent on each other. Say your DHCP server now crashes. You don't have to reboot, or you don't have to reboot the whole thing. You can leave DNS and file server up and print server up. You just reboot the DHCP server. It's really a great technology to get into, to kind of figure it out and play with it. It's really a lot of fun. And those things I just spoke of can actually be done with open source software. I mean, you can install an underlying version of, say, Windows 2005 and Windows 2000, Server 2003 or Windows Server 2008, and then you can go in and you can install those DHCP, DNS, file server, and print server applications using something along the lines of Ubuntu server. It's a free server, takes very little resources to run and actually use. All you have to do is download the file and be able to write an ISO to a CD, and you've got an Ubuntu server right there that costs you nearly nothing but time. So most of the stuff can actually be done with free server or free software. You don't have to continually buy licenses. That is one thing. You do have to buy a license for every virtual instance. It's not based on physical server, it's virtual servers. So if you have 5 virtual servers running Windows 2008, you're going to need 5 licenses to run those servers. So just something to keep in mind. Something else to really keep in mind with virtual servers, it makes disaster recovery and backups and deployments just so much easier. Your virtual server is actually stored in a file. I mean, it's not like your file system on your server. It is in the virtual environment, but physically it's just a single file. So you can literally create a server, you do the install, you do all your updates, and then you make a template. You save that template, you save that file, a copy of it somewhere. So say now you need to deploy another server down the road, it's going to take you 5 minutes to deploy that template and do the few updates you need versus pop the CD and reinstall the entire operating system on the virtual server. So it makes deployment a lot quicker. You save a lot of time doing that. Disaster recovery, it again makes it a lot quicker because you have an issue, you pull that file off of your physical server, you throw it into any other server you want, and you're up and running again. You throw it in as a virtual instance. And virtual servers are a lot less dependent on hardware requirements than your physical server. Your physical servers are much more dependent on hardware. You back up a physical server and then restore it to another physical server, and you're going to run into a lot of hardware issues, a lot of hardware conflicts and driver errors and driver issues, which you're really not going to run into that many with virtual servers. They're just a little more forgiving in the software and everything you're running. They're also a lot easier to back up. Like I said, it's just one file, so it's really easy to back up, and you can do a whole lot of things with them. I personally am running Ubuntu server as the underlying operating system, and I'm running 2 Ubuntu servers, one is a DHCP and one is a DNS, and I'm running a I'm running another Ubuntu that's a file server, and then I'm running a Windows 2003 server as my web server, just kind of a thing I'm playing with, just to see the difference in them. So that's kind of what I've got set up in my own home network. So play with it, try and download some of that stuff, throw it on your computer and just see what happens. I take no responsibility if something should crash. So check out my website at www.micnetpc.com for more information on virtualization and other computer and technology articles and videos such as this. You can also check out my website for a more in-depth video that'll be up there shortly, where I'll actually explain in more depth virtualization, more in depth the different pieces of software, and I'll actually walk through a virtual server installation and the cool things you can do with it.